Well, welcome to another solo edition of BGO Blind Pig, the official podcast of bgobsession.com, home to your burgundy and gold obsession since 2009. And if you haven't checked out our feature, Opposing Delicacies, before, this is where we visit road cities for the upcoming opponent, in this case, Arizona, the Arizona Cardinals, who the Commanders will seek to vanquish on Sunday afternoon. But we visit opposing cities and we try to figure out what cuisines are they famous for? What are the dishes that when people visit those cities, they are must-eats, must-haves on the list of things they want to try. So Arizona's a little tough one because Arizona doesn't have a lot of unique cuisine, but there's a lot of Mexican food, a lot of Mexican dishes, chimichangas, burrito tacos, lots of stuff like that. But I wanted to try things that I'd never done before. I love to cook, obviously. And so I wanted to try some things that I had not experienced. So what we're going to prepare today are two dishes. The first is Sonoran hot dogs, which is kind of a bacon wrapped hot dog with some special additions to it. And then some red chili stew. And that is just a different kind of a hybrid chili using some special spices, specifically Santa Cruz Chili Powder, which is a very big part of the Arizona food experience. So we're going to start out with the dogs, and let's talk about how to make a Sonoran hot dog. All right, we're going to start with our prep for the Sonoran hot dogs. I bought Hebrew National hot dogs. I like the bun length, but you could use any hot dog that you like. And then for the bacon, I use Smithfield Center Cut Applewood smoked bacon. But again, any bacon will do. You just don't want to buy bacon that's so thick that it doesn't cook on the grill or the smoker. I'm going to be using the Traeger smoker that I have today. And I mean, it's not rocket science. Basically, you're taking your dog and you're wrapping the bacon around it, putting a toothpick on one end, wrapping it around, and then putting another toothpick on the other end so that it stays on. If you were clever, you could probably end up doing this without using any toothpicks at all, but we just want to keep it all together while we're cooking it, so we're using toothpicks today. The other thing we're going to be prepping is we're going to be putting beans on these dogs. You can use any bean you want, but you don't want just plain old beans. You want beans either that you've cooked with Mexican spices, or you want to buy some. I bought Goya. These are called, I'm not going to try to pronounce that because I don't speak Spanish, but you can buy pre-made Mexican style beans that are already kind of semi-cooked with some Mexican spices. And I'm just going to simmer these because, you know, if you've ever gotten beans right out of the can, they're going to be a little not quite cooked all the way through, and we want them soft on this dog when we're done. And then the most labor-intensive thing that I've done is I've made my own pico de gallo. You could certainly buy pre-made pico de gallo at the grocery store if you don't want to screw with it. But in this case, I chopped some onion, I chopped some fresh tomato, fresh cilantro, and then I put some salt and pepper and lime juice in there to your taste, and I've stirred that up, and I'll put that in the fridge until I'm ready to assemble the Sonoran hot dogs. But that's our start. We got bacon wrapped dogs, we've got simmering beans, or they will be simmering shortly, and then we've got some homemade pico de gallo, and I'm also going to be adding some fresh avocado, chunked up fresh avocado to the pico de gallo, but I'm not going to do that yet because, as you know, avocado likes to turn brown and disgusting looking. So we'll do that right before we assemble the dogs. All right, so that's kind of the start to our Sonoran hot dogs. Let's get right to where do we go from there? Let's get the grill fired up. In this case, a Traeger smoker, but you could use anything. A Weber grill, gas grill, doesn't matter. So this is my Traeger smoker. Love this thing. I call it the 747 because when you crank it up, it kind of sounds like it's warming its engines up. But anyway, we got it lit and we're just waiting for it to get up to temperature, and then we'll crank out our bacon wrapped dogs. All right, so I think the dogs are ready for the grill, so let's see how it goes. So we've got our smoker slash pellet grill up to like 375, 380, and we are going to throw our dogs on the grill. Sorry for the crazy camera angles. It's hard to film yourself. But we'll get them all in here. And let's spread them out a little bit. You can see why I call it 747. We're ready for takeoff. And my plan is to let these go for about 10 minutes and then flip them. So we'll see how that goes. All right, so they've been on there for about 10 minutes. So let's go check out our dogs. So I put the Sonoran hot dogs onto the grill at about 375, and I let them go for about 10 minutes, and then I flip them, and I've let them go for another 10 minutes. So we're looking at about 20 minutes total cook time here. We're trying to get that bacon cooked, at least so it's not going to be crunchy, but at least so it's, you know, you don't want raw bacon of any kind on your hot dogs. So let's see how they look. And they look pretty fantastic to me. I may flip them one more time and just give them a few more minutes, but they look pretty darn good already. So we'll go ahead and keep flipping these and pull them in maybe another 5 minutes. All right, so in addition to the Sonoran hot dogs, we're also preparing red chili stew. So I wanted to walk you through the process. It's not like a traditional chili. You'll see in a minute here. But let's talk about how to make some red chili stew. So for our first step in our red chili stew, I've diced up half an onion and some garlic cloves, whatever to your liking. I think I've got probably 4 or 5. I've never met a dish yet where I said, oh, that's got too much garlic in it, but that's just me. I'm using olive oil, but whatever floats your boat on that front. So I'm just gonna kind of saute that half an onion and that garlic. You could use garlic powder if you're in a hurry. The recipe calls for ground beef, and I'm not an elitist, so if ground beef is what you have and you want to make a simple dish, then by all means use ground beef. But I am, it's Saturday. I'm not hurting for fun, so I went out and bought some really nice local ribeyes and chunked those up. Because I think any chili you make is always going to be even better if you use some real beef and not necessarily ground beef. So I'm going to add that in there. I did toss my beef with salt and pepper because I feel like, anytime you're cooking meat, you want to season it a little bit just to give it some extra flavor. We're going to cook this beef and onion and garlic mix until the beef is browned well. And then we'll proceed on with the rest of our red chili stew recipe. Man, I wish you could have smell-o-vision, because that beef and onion and garlic, that was, I almost had that for dinner. It smells so good. But let's move on to the next step of our red chili stew. Our beef is getting pretty well browned, not quite ready yet. But I'm going to go ahead and add the next ingredient. And this is where red chili stew takes a departure from every other chili you've ever made, because we're going to be adding a couple of russet potatoes that we've peeled and then diced up into small. You can slice them, you can dice them. The main thing is you don't want them so thick. You don't want them more than like maybe a half an inch, quarter inch thick, so that they will cook. Because otherwise, you don't want to be eating your red chili stew and be crunching raw potatoes. So I've diced these up, but you can slice them. Whatever you want to do, just make sure they're not too thick. And I'm going to add, again, that's 2 russet potatoes. I'm going to add that to the mix. Get the rest of this in there. And we're going to continue cooking our beef and onion and garlic and russet potatoes for probably another 5 minutes or so, until the potato starts to soften. Not rocket science, but anyway, we're in progress here. All right, so let's finish up our chili, and then we're going to move on to the most exciting stage of the game, where we actually try our Sonoran hot dogs, assemble them, and try out our chili. But we got to finish this chili up first. So for what's essentially our final step in the making of the red chili stew, you can kind of see our beef and our potatoes are starting to look pretty well cooked. They're going to simmer in the sauce for however long we want to do that, so they don't have to be completely cooked yet. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some oregano and basil, just maybe a tablespoon of each to that. I'm going to add a couple of tablespoons of just plain old flour. And I want to try to not clump that, but spread it out evenly over the whole thing. And then I'm going to stir that in really well. And that's really just to kind of thicken the stew. It'll just result in a little bit thicker product at the end here. Don't have to do a lot with it, just kind of get it mixed in so it's not clumped up. Then I'm going to add probably the most important ingredient, and that is Santa Cruz Chili Powder. And this is made from Anaheim peppers, or some people call them New Mex peppers. If you're growing your peppers in a garden, you probably know them as New Mex. But Anaheim peppers are milder typically, so it's not going to be a super hot chili stew. But the recipe calls for 3 tablespoons. You can see I've got quite a bit more than that, because I like anything chili related. I like to be able to tell that I've got some chili in it. So again, it's not going to be hot, but it's going to be a little bit spicy. So I'm going to mix that up just to kind of blend it a little bit. And then the next thing I'll add is another unusual ingredient, but I'm going to add a little bit of chicken bouillon. And in this case, I'm adding better bouillon. I've got like a tablespoon in there. It's kind of gross looking because I've got it on a spoon. But anyway, I'll scoop that off of there once I get off camera. You could also add a couple of chicken bouillon cubes. Just make sure you crush them up a little bit before you put them in there. But I'm going to add the rest of that chicken bouillon to the mix here in just a minute. And then the last thing we'll add is we're going to add 4 cups of water to our mix. And probably the most unusual thing about this chili stew is that there are no tomatoes in it. And that makes it a little bit different from most chili recipes. So I'm going to stir that up. Again, I'll get the rest of that bouillon in a minute when I'm off camera. But we're gonna cook this for at least 30 minutes on medium heat, and it'll thicken up and it'll look a little bit more like chili than it does right now. All right, boys and girls. So we basically have prepared our Sonoran hot dogs, and we have got our chili going. I would say I probably simmered that chili for about an hour. But one of the good things about these 2 dishes is, again, like a lot of them, you can start them ahead of time. You could basically assemble that chili, simmer it on low while you're waiting for the football game to start. And on the Sonoran hot dogs, you could do your pico de gallo and your beans ahead of time. You could wrap your dogs ahead of time. You could have everything ready to go, where all you need to do is get the dogs cooked on the grill, which only takes about 20 minutes. So let's take a look at the finished product: Sonoran hot dogs from Arizona and red chili stew. So as you can see, we've got our Sonoran dogs with bacon wrapped around them, all done. And we've got all of our fixings. We have our red chili stew, which, as you can see, really thickened up nicely. Really looking forward to trying that. We've got our pico de gallo, our beans, and we actually are going to use mayo on these dogs, bacon wrapped dogs. And we've got some oversized hot dog buns, because a regular hot dog bun, it would just be a big mess. So we're going to try to assemble this while you watch, even though I've only got one hand to hold the camera and another hand to manage the process. So we're gonna, probably the most important thing is get these toothpicks out of there, right? I would probably remove the toothpicks the minute I was done cooking these dogs. So I'm gonna go ahead and, the first thing I'm gonna do, because we're gonna do this the correct way according to Arizonans, is we're gonna put some of those beans in that bun. So I'm gonna take a spoonful of beans, and I did drain the beans, because you don't want, I mean, nobody likes a soggy bun, right? You want, and again, the bun's breaking apart, but you want those beans, I may just do it this way. You want those beans to be relatively dry on the bottom of that bun, and not a big soggy mess of a bun. Nobody would enjoy that. And then we're gonna put our dog on there. And then the next step is we're going to take some of this beautiful pico de gallo, and I mentioned earlier that we'd be adding some avocado to it, which I've done. So we'll add some of that to it. And again, there's no clean way to do this, so you're going to have some mess as you do it, but we're going to do it as best we can. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're gonna put some mayo over the top of that thing, and we'll see what we think of that. I'm a hot dog ketchup and mustard guy. Yes, ketchup as well as mustard, but we're gonna put a little bit of mayo on this because that is what the Sonoran hot dog calls for. And then we're gonna give it an on-the-air taste here. Again, I've never made this. I've never eaten it. This is an Arizona specialty, so let's see what we think. You can probably hear me smacking my lips in the background. I'm gonna take one other good bite. That was pretty good, pretty damn good, folks. One thing about wrapping that dog with bacon, I mean, it really picks up the smoke of the smoker, or if you do it on a grill, it's gonna pick up a lot of that smoke. Just got a ton of flavor. And the combination of the beans and the pico de gallo and the dog itself, man, that is good. So I'm gonna give that 2 thumbs up. The next thing we'll do is try our red chili stew. And again, I told you before, I had a really hard time with not adding tomatoes to anything with the chili, with chili in the title. But this is basically beef and onions and potatoes and spices and that Santa Cruz special chili powder that Arizona is known for. And we'll give it a shot and see what we think here. Damn, that is good. Super, I can really taste the chili. Potatoes are soft and chewy, and I'm glad that I did not use ground beef, although that would also be good. But that ribeye really shines through. So sometimes the best things you ever eat are simple. Like, you don't need 1,000 ingredients, and red chili stew is definitely one of those dishes where, you know, you're letting the beef and the beef and the red Santa Cruz Chili Powder, that Anaheim pepper powder, and the potatoes, you're letting that shine through. So anyway, man, I am going to sign off because I'm going to tear this shit up. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. Well, there you have it. Sonoran hot dog and red chili stew, two Arizona favorites. And I guarantee if you ever go to Arizona, you're going to see the Sonoran hot dog out there. And I encourage you to give it a try. I really like the dog, the red chili stew. I mean, I'm kind of a chili snob, I'll be honest with you. I've done chili contests. I've been cooking chili all my life. So it's not really something that I don't think I would make it again. It was fun to try. The potatoes were a little bit different, but I loved I did love the chili powder and just the simplicity of it. It was definitely edible and it tasted good, as I said in the video, but just not something that I would crave to make a second time. On the other hand, man, the Sonoran hot dogs, that would be a great tailgate food because, again, you could do it all ahead of time and be ready to go. And all you'd have to do is throw those dogs on the grill and then serve it up and let people put whatever they want to on it. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this edition of Opposing Delicacies. We'll keep it going. And if you have not visited our flagship forum, BGO, we call it, a Burgundy and Gold Obsession at bgobsession.com. I really encourage you to come by and visit us. I mean, we have the greatest community. We've been around since 2009. We kind of sprung off of another board and created our own vibe. It's free. We have a lot of great contests. But the best thing is the membership. We just have some super members. Once you come to BGO, you'll stay. Trust me. So come check it out. Check out our regular podcast, BGO Blind Pig. We've got a Facebook group. We are on Twitter and Instagram. We got a lot of good stuff going, and I appreciate you taking time to watch my silly cooking podcast, and we'll catch you next time on BGO Blind Pig.